Are you a mom who's heard you're not supposed to get help? There's absolutely no reason why you should get help. Help is not needed. Maybe you've even heard if you ask for help, you look bad. I know I've been there. I'm a mom as well, and I've heard all of the things about help. And today we're going to have an open, awesome conversation about asking for help. My name, as you know, is Leslie Urbis. I'm a registered dietitian and a personal trainer who, as you also know, calls herself a selfless overachiever in recovery, working to uncheck all of the boxes I've checked for everyone else and start checking the boxes for myself. And today I have an awesome guest, and her name is Yael. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am fabulous. I was loving our conversation earlier today, just about everything that was going on and how you kind of started. And I'm so curious with what you do and how you help moms. Tell us how you got started with helping moms ask for help, really.
Okay, so there's two ways I got started. One was my own story is that I was a divorced mom. I mean, I still am a divorced mom of 4 kids and often really overwhelmed. And a couple of my kids were struggling, one with learning disabilities. And I was just finding that getting balance and help wasn't so easy. And I personally just noticed that things really shifted when I started learning ways to regulate myself, and that when I got calm, all of a sudden, any parenting strategy I knew became easier to implement, and that my family life got better. So that's personal. And there was another aspect to this. I'm a special educator, and what I started seeing happening was that parents who went in, and if I trained them and worked with them, and I also taught them ways to help their children regulate, that they became empowered. So I started to see that this is just a missing link for parents, that moms kind of think, oh, well, I'm just going to do it worked for my family. And that we don't realize that getting some level of training as mothers completely changes the whole trajectory of what our family life is like. And also how our children function growing up, how we can facilitate and support our children to become more resilient and more empowered when we have some of those tools and really understand how to use them.
Yeah, so tools to not only help ourselves, but to calm ourselves and to be more in there and to ask for help, you mean?
Both. So when we have tools to just calm and keep ourselves regulated, let's face it, haven't we all as a mom, there's a point where you just want to scream because I said so, or you just want to
Totally.
scream, right?
Yeah,
And you
especially
find
now because
yourself,
as I'm parenting myself and I wasn't really taught these things at a younger age, it's like, I don't know. My mom used to just say because I said so and it was acceptable, but I'm not allowed to, not allowed to, but more just like this isn't something we say. There's got to be a better answer here. So
right. So what I mean is those two things. We want to find that way to calm ourselves, because when a mom is regulated, the whole family's regulated, right? We're holding kind of the emotional tone usually for the family most of the time. And so when we're regulated, then the whole family can be more harmonious. But the other thing is, well, how do I teach a child in the best way? We talked about this earlier, life skills. What's the best way to teach someone who's 4 to tie their shoes, someone who's 16 to drive a car, someone who's 14, like, how are you managing your money? We can start teaching these things. And if we learn really simple strategies of how to teach our children, parenting becomes a lot easier. If a child has a behavior where you're like, what is up with that? How do I shift that from a confrontation and a power struggle to actually really healthy boundaries and a framework where both the child and the parents feel recognized and they understand what's expected within the framework of the family? That really changes what family life is going to look like.
agreed completely. Yeah. I mean, on so many levels to know, the steps and things like that. I was talking to you before. I was like, oh, is this like a Montessori thing? And you said, no, I mean, it could be. My kids now go to Montessori school instead of regular school. And I'm just noticing so much difference in them, and even just the way that I can parent and do things versus the way that they were almost taught in the previous school that they were in. Really kind of daycare, kindergarten kind of thing, but still, just still something there. So if I were, let's say I'm in this bucket, okay, I don't know how to ask for help. I don't know what to do next. How would I know that these tools or these things could be something that would help me?
I personally think they can help anybody because I think they're a framework. Like, in other words, um, the tools I use are pretty accepted parenting strategies, and they're also, so they're both parenting strategies that you would find in most frameworks of educating parents, and they're also educational strategies. So we can adapt an educational strategy or even an
Mm,
emotional strategy. So let's take this, like, one of the things I teach is nonviolent communication. And
totally.
it's a framework by Marshall Rosenberg, and it's a pretty simple framework. So, when moms start to learn it and you just go, okay, here's the framework, let's start using it. And let's actually work on some situations where communication's been difficult. And let's model it with another mom and practice it. Or, if it's one-on-one work with me, it might be practicing it with me. But if it's like a group, right, you're working it out with other moms, you're just playing with it. You have the template to look at. So at first it doesn't feel natural, but
Mm-hmm.
as we do it, it becomes very natural. And then as you've modeled that for your children, they start learning to communicate. So
Mm-hmm.
they will then communicate in a way that's really healthy because you've been doing it. They just acquire that skill. So then what happens? Now they're going to school, they're interacting with peers, they're growing up, they're going to work, and they have this skill. It's just there because you've worked to learn it.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I completely agree on that. The other day we were, I have a very large SUV and very small country streets. And we were going to school, and on the way back, I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know that I'm going to fit. I don't know that I'm going to fit. And my daughter's like, Mom, you can do anything you put your mind to. And I was like, okay, true. I do know that. But the thing is that everything here is concrete, and cars hitting don't work like that. I did fit. So I proved her theory right. But I have been saying that to her every time my child ever says, I can't. I'm always like, nope, that's not how we talk. What can we do? We can do anything we put our mind to. So where do we need to learn a little bit more or to uncover a little bit more to be able to do this, right? Same with mistakes. I'm always like, whoops, made a mistake. It is what it is. And so they do the same thing. It's like, oops, I spilt. And then they go help themselves, instead of, the way that sometimes you see things where like small effects like that and they can't get over the mistakes. I think I had that pattern for a long time of being unable to get over my own mistakes, because I think between having two older sisters and a whole bunch of eyes on me all the time, whenever I would make a mistake, it was pointed out. So I tried to cover it up and was always embarrassed by them. Versus now, my children are like, whatever, it's a mistake. It's supposed to happen. It helps me. So that's fabulous. And I love how you're teaching people it from the perspective that it just sticks, right? Because that's truthful. So much of what we do every day is just because we watched our parents do it. I don't know if you've ever heard that story about like a woman who always cuts off the two sides of the ham before she puts it in the oven. And her husband said one day, why do you do that? And he's like, what do you mean? She's like, what do you mean why I do that? I don't know. It's just the way that you do it. The way my mom did it. So grandma came over later, and grandma's response was, I don't know. It's just the way my mom did it. And of course, grandma's mom is still living. So, great grandma, they asked great grandma, and great grandma's like, I had a small pan, so I had to cut off both ends. And that's the answer, right? It's like there's no legit answer other than just to fit the pan. And so everybody did it the same way without asking. And that's the truth. We do so much of that. So I love how you are helping with that aspect.
Well, think
Um,
about, oh,
no, go ahead.
okay. So I'm thinking in listening to you about mistakes. So there's two issues with that. As women, we get a lot of silent messaging about being a good girl. And one of the ways we get
Mm-hmm.
approval in that silent messaging is kind of to be perfect. And there's a beautiful thing that happens with mistakes. And what happens with mistakes is that they're usually I would say they're always an opportunity for growth and more learning. And they're actually opportunities for great curiosity. This didn't work. So there's two kinds of mistakes. I spilled, like you said, the milk. So I know I spilled it. I'm going to go clean it up and we're
Totally.
good. But what about I'm learning something and I don't do it right? Now I could beat myself up and go, I'm not going to go any further, right? Because I'm so constrained by the thought I need to be perfect that I actually make myself small. Now, if I look at that mistake, it's an opportunity to learn something more and I get curious. It didn't work. So what is that telling me? I need to learn something more. There's more skills I need. If I go further, I get bigger. So what does that do? That really creates a child who has persistence, who has resilience, who has stamina. Those are all qualities we want that lead to more successful living and more happy living, just by modeling a mistake as an opportunity for growth and curiosity and creativity. It didn't work. Well, what could work now? We don't realize that's actually a form of creativity. It didn't work. What could? I'm curious now. So there's a lot that can be contained in that experience.
Yeah, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. So like if a mom is interested in, starting with you, how do they connect? And two, where do they kind of start?
Oh, so there's lots of ways we can start. So you can go to my website. It's yaelsunshine.com. Yes, Sunshine is my real last name. Um,
Love it.
and you can reach out to me. They can look at me up on Instagram or Facebook too, but you can reach out to me directly. We can have a conversation. I work with moms one-on-one. I also do group programs. So I do
That's
6-week
awesome.
or 12-week programs, where they're fundamentals of skills. And depending on how deeply you want to go, the 6-week is just like, all right, we're going to just get that taste, it'll be like a cocktail party kind of where we're getting the fundamentals and then we can go into a deeper dive too.
I love it. That's fabulous. Awesome. Okay. Well, you now know where she is. I definitely would check her out if you are struggling with this for sure, because I can already tell that it's life-changing. And thank you, of course, for tuning in. Thank you for being a guest here on the show. Thank you
My
to our
pleasure.
listeners. Yeah, thank you for our listeners to tuning in. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. All the links for her are listed below, and we will catch you live on the next episode. Bye for now.